There's a quiet moment many people recognize but rarely talk about. You look at your life and realize you're doing everything right, yet something inside feels absent. Not broken, just far away. Today's conversation is about that moment and what it actually takes to come home to yourself after you have been living on autopilot for too long. Welcome to I Awaken, a space for conversations around consciousness, inner truth, and the subtle shifts that bring us back into alignment with who we really are. Today I'm joined by Katharine Chestnut, who works with people who appear functional on the outside but feel deeply exhausted on the inside. We're exploring what it means to lose your way without realizing it, how stress quietly reshapes the nervous system, and how calm confidence can be rebuilt in real practical ways. This is a grounded conversation for anyone who feels they've been surviving rather than inhabiting their life. So, Catherine, welcome to I Awaken. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So let's dive into this conversation, Catherine. But firstly, I'm curious. When people come to you feeling fried or disconnected, what's usually the first moment when they realize something inside them has gone offline?
I would say it's not dramatic. It's typically very subtle. Just a feeling disconnected from your body, second guessing yourself, or just performing a version of yourself that kept you safe but doesn't fit. So you don't fit anymore. So burnout, trauma, or other major life shifts make that disconnection impossible to ignore.
That's true. But, like you said, these are some subtle changes that people see. So, could you give some examples of, in what ways do they actually notice them?
So I would say most people are living from the neck up. And I was very famous for saying that I have spent the first 40 years of my life living in my head. And what that does to the body is that our breath is shallow. We feel obligated to do everything typically, even when we don't have time to do it. And it doesn't mean that we're broken, but what happens is that we've been in protection mode for so long, we don't know how to get out of it. So breathing is the way to get past that. It's a really simple way to get back to ourselves, and it doesn't have to be hard.
That's really helpful. So, Catherine, there's a belief that, losing yourself means some kind of dramatic breakdown. But often it looks much quieter than that. What do people misunderstand about what it actually means to lose their way?
I would say that it's a self-trust issue. We stop trusting ourselves and just do what we've been conditioned to do, or society tells us that we need to live our life a certain way, be the responsible one, the organized one, the caretaking one. And when we're focusing so much on that, we're not living who we are, and we become that person. That is our identity. And when we identify with when we're missing other pieces of our identity, and it doesn't mean that we can't be responsible or organized, it just means that there's other parts of us that we're not listening to. And when we want to shift, it doesn't mean we have to force it. We just have to listen. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. And so basically, it's like putting on someone else's skin, like trying on a facade. and letting go of your true self by not listening to your inner voice. That's definitely true. But I'm curious to know what keeps people stuck in that misunderstanding for so long.
because it feels safe, even if it's uncomfortable. We know it. We know this particular version of ourselves, this way we're living our lives, even if it's uncomfortable and or even traumatic. I did it myself. I was in an emotionally abusive marriage with a covert narcissist for 11 years, and I didn't realize it, but I did realize it. I'm gonna say I did realize it, but I thought it was something that I had to fix, and I didn't know how to fix it, so I just kept living that life because at least I knew what to expect.
Yeah, that feels like the perfect answer. I mean, uh, safety. And I have seen so many people stay in relationships or in their whole life just because it is safe, even though it's uncomfortable, like you said, because people are just so afraid to get out of their, uh, you know, comfort zone to try out new things. Because, like you said, they are conditioned to live that life and they are just afraid of any change, even if it's for the better. So it's not a collapse that signals disconnection, but overfunctioning. Staying capable means the camouflage. So definitely, I agree. Let's stay with that for a moment. Beneath the productivity and competence, what's really happening in the nervous system when someone lives in survival mode for years?
Well, as I was saying, it comes to our breath, and it breathing small, shallow makes us small, or even if it doesn't make us literally, figuratively smaller physically, our our minds are feeling smaller. Like, I'm smaller, I can hide. And I've done that in a traumatic situation, right? We hold our breath, and holding our breath makes us safe because nobody can hear us breathing. It feels silly when you say it out loud, but it's actually what is happening.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I was expecting something more of an anxiety or a panic attack. But it's just it's
Well,
fascinating.
sure. I mean, you can have a panic attack. I never had a panic attack until I left my abuser, which I found very fascinating in that during my recovery, I was experiencing that. But while I was in the situation and, dealing with that, being as quiet as I could, and a lot of this may come from childhood trauma, or it could just come from we're expected to do certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our nervous system it goes into flight mode. And yeah, when we get out of something like that, I think that's when all of it comes crashing down on us at once. So,
But right, we're in that freeze mode when we're being smaller and we're slowing or making our breath more shallow. That's the freeze mode because then, like I said, they the danger or whatever is threatening us can't see us. Again, it might feel silly to say out loud because obviously you can be seen, but there is something about slowing the breath that creates safety, which that is the key to coming back to ourselves.
No, it makes so much sense. I mean, I think everything that our body does is to protect ourselves. So what you said, it just makes total sense. But why does willpower stop working once stress reaches that level?
Again, it's all we're looking for a place of safety. And if safety means eating a bag of Oreos because it's a comfort food, or a big old bowl of mac and cheese, or whatever it is, or grabbing a pillow and hugging it like you might a teddy bear as a child, all of those things create that sense of safety. I feel safer when I do that. And a lot of the things that we do from that learned position of being safe.
Yeah, it sounds like the body isn't failing us. It's trying to protect us in the only way it knows how, like I just said. So I'd love to make this concrete. How does this kind of disconnection show up in everyday moments that listeners might recognize immediately?
I would say frequently, if you're in a moment, you might start to feel your body feels tense, or you might start to sweat a little bit. Uh, but the way to move through that, and well, before that, you might lash out, or you might get very quiet. Again, whichever feels more safe. Some people feel safe being quiet to make themselves unseen, and some people feel safer by lashing out. But the key is that when you recognize it, when it's coming on, is to breathe slowly and deeply. That is the place to do that, because when you recognize you're in that moment, it's a whatever's going on, if we pause and we take a deep breath, the body immediately feels safer. Our minds immediately quiet. Think about when you have a child. When my daughter fell down, skinned her knee, she's crying, she's sobbing, she's, you know, blubbering. You can't understand what she's saying. What is it? The first thing that we say instinctively to somebody when they're in that place, we say, take a deep breath, right? Breathe, because our breath is magical. It has the power to bring us back into the moment and into a place of safety.
That's that's beautiful, and it's also wonderful to know that how such something that big can show up in such small moments in our life, and we can just miss it if we don't look hard enough. So, what are some subtle signs that people often dismiss or normalize that are actually important signals?
Well, the big thing is that people stop believing in their own signals. They stop recognizing them, or like we were saying, listening to the body and honoring what feels true. And the signals may be, you know, fatigue, being tired, at the end, not wanting to socialize with others and just wanting to go and be in your little burrow and stay away from people, or just not feeling like you ever do anything that isn't work. If you're always thinking about work, and I was one of those people too, that is a sign that you need to start listening to your body again. And you understand that trust, that your body is trusting you, is gonna come slowly, and it comes from listening. Do you have do you have an upset stomach? Do you have a headache all the time? All of those things can be signs that you're completely disconnected.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, it just comes down to routines. I think that human beings, they love routines, and that is exactly why they never want to, get out of what they have been conditioned to do. And that naming alone feels powerful, giving language to what's been felt but never articulated. So, Catherine, you're very clear that calm isn't about becoming passive or losing your edge. So, what does rebuilding steadiness actually look like in practice?
So, I here's a thing to do. If you're in a meeting and, I spent, um, 30 some odd years in corporate America, and there were plenty of meetings that I sat in that were uncomfortable. And if there was a time where I felt like I needed a place, I needed an escape, there was a break, if my body was reacting to something that was going on, I would, excuse myself, go to the ladies' room, and put my hand on my chest and one on my belly, and then take a deep breath. Just close my eyes, be in that moment, and ask myself, "What do I need right now? Just what do I need right now?" And there was no forcing the answer, just trust whatever comes up, and whatever it is real. And then I can go back into that meeting coming from a place of calm, which is really important, especially if I was starting to feel not calm, and I could be more clear about what I needed or what I felt needed to happen.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. And it's also similar to what, I ask to our listeners at the end of almost every show to, ask themselves this question that you just mentioned. What do I need right now? Because it's really important to our nervous system as well to make it feel comfortable even in environments that may not feel comfortable for the body. So it's important to remind ourselves that. So that's a very important question that people should be asking themselves. So that's great advice, really. Can you share one simple tool that listeners could try today that doesn't require changing who they are?
Well, the thing is that you're not gonna change yourself overnight, and this isn't about it's not gonna happen overnight, right? It's about being honest, and it's about being consistent. And even if it's as simple as when you're in your morning routine and you brush your teeth and you brush your hair and you're getting ready to go, before you leave the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror and just hold yourself and give yourself a big, deep breath and say, "Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for this day." And then go about your day. It's one moment out of your day, but when you start doing it consistently, there's fewer dramatic issues that come up. We carry that little nugget of calm in our bodies into the rest of the day. And we end up wanting more of it. So we may find times throughout the day where we say, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk around the building, or I'm gonna go do whatever, or, let mom just have a moment," and go in another room and take a deep breath. That breath will bring you back to yourself. It is the bridge that helps you rebuild trust with yourself and honoring what is true for you.
Wow, that was powerful. And I love how everything just circles back to your breath, the something that helps us being alive, but also in so many different ways. And yeah, I mean, calm confidence becomes a skill that's trained, not a personality trait you're born with. And I think what you shared today with our listeners, it is very powerful. And
I think the thing to remember is that while breath is one thing that we can do for ourselves, it's probably the most accessible thing that we carry with us everywhere, and it's easy. We don't have to make this complicated or hard. Just find yourself again by breathing one breath at a time, and you'll be there.
wow, that's amazing. But how can someone respond differently in these moments without turning it into another self improvement project?
Well, again, we're our breath is with us all the time. So we're not this isn't a self-improvement project. This is about coming back to who we are and being solidly grounded and calm in our bodies, which makes it easier to make decisions, and we can be more compassionate with ourselves, even while life is all going on around us.
Yeah, that feels like an invitation to relate to stress with curiosity rather than control. So, Catherine, for anyone listening who feels tired but can't explain why, what would you invite them to notice about their body or inner state right now?
So I would look at, first off, are you getting enough rest? So some people need 7 hours of sleep, some people 8, some people 9. Are you getting enough rest? And is it good rest? Right? Are you actually able to sleep soundly? So that would be the first thing to do, to look at. And then look at what's going on around you. Are there things in your daily life that keep you at a high level of alertness? That is the flight or fight response where we're constantly on alert. And when we live in that place all the time, we're exhausted at the end of the day. You can't be at that level all the time. And being upset or on the defensive, those are also things that will bring that high level up, that alertness, awareness. Again, go back to whenever you can get a moment to be calm and take a deep breath, do it because it gives your body a chance to peel itself off of the ceiling and relax. And the more that we can find those moments, the more we can carry them into the moments that would previously have been really stressful. And the more we have those opportunities to be relaxed and calm, the less exhausted we'll be at the end of the day.
That is such an important advice. And thank you so much for sharing that, Catherine. I mean, I'm sure that for our listeners, it's very helpful because for me, it definitely is. And yeah, today's conversation has been amazing. And I realized so many things from it. I'm sure our listeners have too. So, coming home to yourself isn't about doing less or becoming someone new. It's about learning how to feel safe enough to be fully present again. And Catherine, for listeners who want to explore your work further, where's the best place for them to find you?
So the bulk of my meditations and breath work you will find on Insight Timer, which is a free meditation app. But you'll also find me on YouTube and Spotify, and of course, my website.
Great, great. So I'll have all the details on my show listing, and our listeners can feel free to connect with you whenever and however they want. So, to our dear listeners, thank you for spending this time with us on I Awaken. If something in today's conversation resonated, let it settle rather than rush past it. Awareness itself is a form of awakening. Until next time, stay present with what's true for you.